Hey everyone, RogueGold here. Welcome back to the Division 2. Today, the time has come. The 5 times XP event is coming to the Division 2 this week. So, in case you haven't heard the news, that's right, an insane XP event is happening for the Division 2 this coming weekend. Beginning on Friday, September 27th, it is going to activate, meaning that any XP that you earn in the game, assuming you're at the end game, is going to earn you 5 times the amount of normal Shade experience. The best part is, this is happening alongside the Golden Bullet Global event, meaning that you can earn stars for that event 5 times faster than normal and spend those on caches for whatever variety you want. As I said, this starts on Friday, it then goes until Monday the 30th, so you have this weekend to take advantage of this, and it is not hyperbole to say that this is the most lucrative farming window and event that this franchise has ever seen. So I am going to be doing a guide for how to best take advantage of this event in terms of what content you might want to play. That'll be coming out closer to when it starts, but for today, I wanted to give you all some build recommendations. And I wanted to try and give people some advance so that you had a chance to put this together, right? Because once this kicks off, you've only got 3 days. You want to spend that time actually playing and farming. But with 48 hours to go here, like I said, I wanted to give you all some build ideas. And the good news is that the Golden Bullet Global event is already active, so you can make these builds, try them out, see how they play, and best of all for this video, we can demonstrate how these will work with it. Now, keep in mind, as we get into this entire video is geared for newer or returning players, and it's mostly going to be oriented if you're playing solo, right? Chances are there's a good number of people out there who heard 5 times XP and are coming back to make that push towards SHD level 1000. And so I kept that in mind when I made these builds in terms of time investment for farming them, difficulty in getting certain rare items, etc. So if that is you and you need any ideas for what builds to run during this event, hopefully this all helps out and is doable. I've got 2 different builds to show off for 2 different styles of play and just how seriously you want to play the event, right, in terms of adding additional difficulty modifiers, different factors like that. So let's waste no more time and get right to them. Alright, so this first build is what I'm dubbing your more general or casual setup, right? Where you're going to be taking part in this event, but you're not trying to sweat it out and squeeze every bit of efficiency and XP from it. You just want to take part, get those levels, and have fun while you're doing so. If that's you, this setup should serve you very well, as it really focuses on self-sustained. It also comes with a lot of damage even prior to activating the Golden Bullet effect, and it should be quite easy to put together. So let's take a closer look at how this one works. Alright, so here is the build. We're looking at a Hunter's Fury setup. If you don't know what that is kind of the centerpiece of this entire thing. It is this gear set. We're running 4 pieces of it. It gives us 15% shotgun and SMG damage on the 2-piece bonus. The 3 is 20% armor on kill, 50% health on kill. And then the 4-piece is that enemies within 15 meters receive a debuff so that you do 20% amplified weapon damage against them. And for every enemy you kill, it disorients enemies within 5 meters, as well as gives you an additional 5% amplified damage that can stack up to 5 times. So as you can see from all of those bonuses there, this set really focuses on high damage and high self-sustain. That's why it works really well for a solo build. You're very run and gun, close quarters, right? So if you like that kind of playstyle, this should work very well for you. And again, we're running this on these 4 pieces, excluding the chest and the backpack. That is typically, even though all of these builds are templates, I should stress that at the start here, you can mix and match and make your own build out of this. For the most part, for this kind of a setup, you are going to want to leave the chest piece and the backpack open. For these 2, I'm running then 2 pieces of the Sokolov brand set, so that I'm getting 10% SMG damage and 15% crit damage from there, right? Feeds into the same kind of bonuses. But this is where I encourage you to experiment. Again, these 2 pieces, Sokolov with some kind of talents we'll go over, should be relatively easy to get. If you have something like the Memento Exotic Backpack, that works super well here, but again, it's not mandatory. That's what I want to stress for all of these builds. So again, if you have that, feel free to slot that in, try it out, but if not, you can get Sokolov pretty easily. Use those there. Again, the talents as well are also interchangeable. I'm using Intimidate and Bloodsucker. That's a pretty good combination that gets you bonus armor on kill that then spikes your damage even further with the chest piece talent, but you could run something like Unbreakable or Obliterate here on the chest piece. Similarly for the backpack, you could run something like Adrenaline Rush instead, right? It's all up to you, and I always encourage experimentation. Try out what works best for you, what you have, right? Even if you don't have these exact pieces, that's okay. You can get something similar and it'll work quite well. If you didn't see, we're running crit on everything here, right? Crit chance, crit damage, same bonuses there across all of these pieces. I'm also running 3 blue cores and 3 reds. I think that is a pretty good distribution between armor and weapon damage, but again, try what works out best for you. Alright, because of all of that, I'm then running an MP7 as my primary. Again, you do not have to run the same gun. Run whatever high-end SMG works best for you that you like. I can attest that the MP7 is very strong. It has very good base damage. It has 1000 RPM. This one obviously is rolled pretty well because I've used it for a while, but you want these general stats on whatever gun you're going to run. Obviously, SMG damage and crit chance come base, but then you can roll the third attribute. Damage to targets out of cover is one of the best you can have. On this one, I'm running close and personal for the talent. I think that works super well. You get way increased weapon damage for kills within close range, which obviously plays right into how the gear set works and all of that. But again, feel free to run something like Optimist or Strained or Killer. Plenty of options here. Taking a peek at the overall crit stats from all of these pieces, I'm getting 58 crit chance. Again, it caps out at 60, so you don't want to go over that. I then have 147% crit damage, so some very solid stats for the gun. I'm using the Scorpio exotic shotgun as my secondary, but again, run whatever you want here. Another SMG, a high-end shotgun, whatever you want truly. Pistol as well, it doesn't really matter too much. For the specialization, I'm running gunner. If you have that, that's going to work very well. You get bonuses like armor on kill, increased rate of fire on kill, faster reloads, all of that. If you don't have this, something like the survivalist is pretty good for the protection from elites. You could do something like firewall for the close range bonuses, things like that. And then for the skills, I'm for one running the Banshee Pulse, which you do get from the gunner specialization. But again, if you don't have that, feel free to run anything else. You could do something like a half shield, so you have a bit more protection when you're close quarters. But again, whatever you want there. I'm then running a Revive Vibe just because I like it. In case I get too far in and I get down, I can revive myself that one time, get a safety blanket, but make your own call for what's going to work best there. So the reason that this is the more casual setup, right, the one that I say the majority of people are probably going to enjoy is because it works very well. You don't have to think a ton while you're doing it. You don't have to juggle a lot of bonuses. It's just get in there and kill. And one of the big things is directives, right, that we're going to cover for both of these builds. So obviously they work with Golden Bullet. Both of them do. But the amount of directives that you apply, which if you don't know, these are additional difficulty things which increase. You can see on the right side there how much XP you're getting. So if I were to run with all 5 of these, I would get 125% extra XP, and stack that on top of the 5 XP bonus event that's coming this weekend. That would be a ton of gains, right? But it is very hard to play with all 5 of these. So for this build specifically, it works very well with these 2. This is what I recommend that you put on if you're okay to take on the challenge. Fog of War Revisited makes it so that enemies don't show up on your radar. Again, as long as you're using your audio cues and you're looking around for where they are, you should be totally fine to play with this. Additionally, Ragers basically just gives certain enemies a bit of an overheal, so they have a bit more health to take down. This should be totally fine. Again, once you proc Golden Bullet, you're ripping through these enemies anyway. So yeah, use that. So again, that's why I said this is the more casual build. You're not going to be able to run some of these other harder ones. I mean, you can try, but it's going to be a bit tougher. But the next build we go over will deal with some of those. But these 2 I definitely recommend. Again, the difficulty level, totally up to you. I prefer to run on heroic, but if you want to do challenging, hard, whatever fits best for you and the gear you have, you make that determination. But yeah, that is the general look at build number 1, everybody. Alright, now we move on to build number 2. This build is similar to the first one in concept, but it's more geared towards those who want that intense experience this coming weekend. It's for those of y'all who want to be able to play with the maximum number of directives as easily as possible. This build fits right into that. Basically, you're just trying to push the limits of this event to the max. Therefore, it is a bit more involved. You need to lock down each piece a bit more, but again, I made sure this is doable for a newer and solo player. So, with all of that said, let's take a look. Alright, and here is build number 2. Now you might look at this and think, oh, this looks quite similar to the first one, right? Not quite. We're actually using the Hunter's Fury gear set for a bit of a different purpose than it's originally intended, but in combination, this build works very well. Again, very good for solo play, but it allows you to activate a few more of those directives, which we'll go over, and play with them quite comfortably, along with Golden Bullet. And in combination, as I said, if you want to take this event to its limits, this is a pretty good build for it. So again, we are using the Hunter's Fury gear set, but on all of this stuff, we have headshot damage roll. That is what we're going for, because our primary on this is the pistol, which is called the Harvest. Now, while you do not have to use this gun specifically, a lot of people also like the D50 here. The talent you're going to need on your pistol is Determined, okay? And what that does is that after killing an enemy with a headshot, the next shot that you land will be a guaranteed headshot, and this automatically refreshes itself even if you get a headshot, body shot kill, right? And because of that infinite chain, we're pairing that with the chest piece talent of Headhunter, which means that when you kill an enemy with a headshot, it greatly increases the damage of your next shot. So as you saw in the gameplay, this basically creates an endless one-shot chain, assuming you can keep the damage up, and that's the general idea here. So again, the Harvest is going to be a very good pick that I'm recommending to newer players because you can actually get it quite easily right now. and that is because it's the final reward from the Mooncake event that's currently going on in the game. I made 2 different videos on some of these objectives. I will link them in the description below so that you can check them out. Again, take an hour and a half of your time, and you can get this gun very easily. And while it is not guaranteed to come with the same perks that mine did, I got lucky and mine came with damage to targets out of cover and determined. You can roll determined on there and keep whatever third attribute is on there. It'll work fine. The reason this gun is so good for it is because it comes with very high base damage, even higher than the D50 in some cases. And so it's pretty much the best high-end option for this kind of a build, so it's very convenient that that event is active right now. So again, if you want to put this build together, I recommend the Harvest. If you don't have a similar weapon you can slot in, check those videos for the guide. But we're then still using Hunter's Fury because you do get those good self-sustained bonuses with the armor on kill, the fact that you stun those enemies in close proximity to the kills that you get. But we've changed 2 things up. For one, we have the Chain Killer, which is a named item. It is a perfected item. You will have to farm a little bit to get this, but you don't have to use this specific version. For instance, you could run something like a DNH chest piece, where you get 20% pistol damage on the 1-piece brand bonus. You get those similar stats there, and also with Headhunter. So as always, these builds are templates. Filter in what stuff you have, what you're able to get, but if you do have the Chain Killer with Perfect Headhunter, that will work quite well here. And then on the backpack, I do have the Memento slotted in. Again, you might not have this, that's okay. If you do, it's going to work very well for the different bonuses we're going for, but also feel free to do something with Vigilance. This one comes with headshot damage, has Vigilance on there. If you have Perfect Vigilance on the gift, you could use that as well. Again, it's all about what stuff you have and what you're able to get, but this is the general idea that we're going for. Either use something like the Memento or Vigilance for extra damage. And as I said, every piece here has headshot damage rolled, right? That's what we're going for because that's what we're going for with the pistol. I then also have 6 reds on here. The only blue we have is from the Memento itself. But if we take a peek at the gun, with all of that in mind, we have almost 200% headshot damage on our Harvest here, and that means that we're able to do lots of headshot damage, one shot when we get the chain going with Determine and Headhunter and Gold Bullet specifically, so it's quite strong. The only other thing to keep in mind here is the specialization we're running Technician, which is going to be not mandatory, but very much recommended, because not only do we get to run the Bulwark Shield here, that doesn't require Technician, I want to clarify, but we get to run the Artificer Hive as our secondary, which is a Hive variant that will automatically heal up our shield when enemies damage it, right? So that's a very good combination. Also, because we get 1 free skill tier from Technician, and we have the armor and the skill tier core here, our shield gets to tier 3 by base, which means that it has a good amount of health that it can soak up, a good amount of damage it can soak up, and it works very well, you know, given that we don't have a lot of armor ourselves. And as I mentioned before, this kind of a build allows you to take on a few more directives. If we look at the directive breakdown here, again, we always have Golden Bullet active for this event, but on top of the 2 that we did for the last one, we're also going to activate Cool Skills and Ammo Hoarders. Reason why these are easier to do, for one, your pistol always has infinite ammo, so this Ammo Hoarders one is almost null, right? It doesn't even matter because we're not going to be using our other guns. Cool Skills, on the other hand, is going to be slightly annoying because every time you pull out your shield, it's going to reset the charges and the cooldown on your Artificer Hive, but because you never have to activate your Artificer, you just keep it on your back and it automatically heals your shield. That's only a one-way street, where the shield is only going to tamper with that, but the Hive won't tamper with your shield. So again, with a build like this, you can easily run these 4 directives. Fragile Armor, I can't really recommend because it's kind of bugged. It'll cause you a lot of annoyances in gameplay. You can try it if you want to, but really I recommend these 4. And so because of that, you'll get 100% additional XP on top of the 5 times that we're getting with the event. So that's why this kind of a build, I say, is more specialized. It's for if you really want to push this thing to the max, then you can run all of those. And in general, that's going to become quite possible with this kind of a build. And there you have it, my friends. Between those 2 builds, these should serve you well for whatever goals and purposes you might have with this coming 5 times XP event to the Division 2. Obviously, if you're more experienced with the Division 2 already, or you're playing in a group, you might already have your own ideas about what to run, all of that. That's totally fine, and obviously it goes without saying, even for the builds I showed off in this video, even if you're playing solo, these builds are not the only way to go. As most of us know, the Division 2 is filled with possibilities and combinations, but for the newer, returning, and solo players, I figured at least some of you would appreciate a bit of guidance in this regard, so I hope this helped. As I mentioned at the start, keep an eye out for my further coverage on this event, right? I'm going to do a guide about some of the best content to play over the weekend so that you get the most amount of XP for your time spent, and I am going to be doing a live stream on Friday as well when this all goes live. So, stay tuned. In the meantime, if you have any questions after everything that we went over in this video, then be sure to leave them down below. I will do my best to answer and respond. Or any other thoughts, recommendations of builds you might be running during the event, I'd love to see them as well. If you are not already and you want to see all of my coverage for this event coming up, then be sure to click that subscribe button if you're not already. We would love to have you around. But that's going to do it for me today, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. RogueGold. out.